Hello, this is Ray Marquis, Senior Application Engineer at Thalen Corporation, and today I'm going to show you how to use waypoints on the TM series robot. Let's get started. Waypoints are a way to move from one place to another without stopping, and then you pass through the waypoints. I've created a simple program here. It's got a few points on it, and it's running right now. You can see that we go from that. Basically, it starts at this near point, which is at the bottom because it's a loop, and then it'll go through the high point, and then to the far point, and then through the high point back to the near point, and just keep cycling through that. The things we want to focus on are those high points right there. Those are the waypoints that we're going to use, and we'll be changing the settings to see how it affects the move. Here's my program that we're going to cycle through, and there are those two high point nodes. We'll click on the first one, and you select it as a waypoint, and then when you click on that, you can set the height as a percentage of the total. So I'm going to use a variable in this so that I can change it on the fly, and then I'll click on OK, but can't see it because it's off the screen. And then if you click on the blending button, you can select the percentage to blend, and you just can set that slider. I'm going to leave that one at 100, and then we'll look at the other node, which uses the same point. It's a waypoint, and use the same variable for the height there. Okay, then if we look at the by percentage part, I'm going to leave that set to 0 for the blending. So it's essentially not going to blend in the move through that point at all. And we'll see what effect that has. I'm going to use the robot pad or the teach pendant to start the program, and the display board will come up. In another video, I'll show you how you can display these variables, but I created a variable, and I'm going to type in a value here of 100. And now when the program runs, it'll use 100 for the height. This is what the robot looks like while it's running the program. I'm showing you this part so you can see what we're looking at later. But it's just going to grab that pen, take it over to the digitizer, and then make the move through the waypoint. It's a little hard to see what the changes are sometimes just by watching the robot, so I had to draw on the digitizer, and then we'll look at what it drew later on. Just a note about these waypoints is that unless you have a change in Z height, the height setting in the waypoint doesn't really make much difference. So let's see what they look like. This first graphic is from the move we just saw. You can see that I've got the height set to 0 on both of them, and the blending is 0 on one and 100 on the other. So there's the one with the blending at 100%. There's the one with the blending at 0%. I know these go by kind of fast, so feel free to rewind and watch them again. Here's another move. This one has the height set to 50%. You can see a little change, but it's hard to catch, so we'll watch the digitizer next. But you can see it's going, basically making that waypoint move through the top. You'll see from this graphic coming up that it'll move up about 50% and then over to the waypoint. And then the first one is with no blending. The second one is with blending. And the pen came off the pad, so I'll finish it off there. On this one, we're setting the height to 100%. So it goes almost straight up to the Z height, and then it'll start its move down to the next point. You can see there's going to be one with blending and one without, and we'll see that in this graphic right here coming up, where the Z moves up, curves over to the waypoint, and then down to the next point, and then it'll do the same move only backwards, where there's no blending. It's just basically straight up, straight over, and then at an angle down. This last graphic has to do with the point-to-point or line setting in the waypoint, and this is where you set it up. Select point-to-point or line. And here's the graphic of what happens when you change that setting. This first one's at line, so it's a linear move. We'll see what happens when we set it to P2P, point to point, and it'll change the corners there. So you see that corner drops in a little bit on P2P. It's pretty straight out on line, so it pulls in a little on both of those corners. You see them change, but on the move where there's no blending, it doesn't make much change at all to change that point to point or line setting. That's it for waypoints. I hope you found this useful. I know the graphics and the videos went by quickly, but you can easily rewind and watch them over and over again until you get tired of my voice. But for now, the robot and I say goodbye.